Mike Baker is a former CIA covert operations officer and joins me now. The president is publicly negotiating with Putin and putting pressure on him big time. Get it done.
Right. He's doing what he's doing with the tariffs and other things, right? He's always done this, I think, in a sense. He's putting these ideas out there, and at first it makes some people step back and go, "What is he saying?" But there is a purpose behind it, and it is this idea that, you know, now you got the pressure out in the open, they've got to respond. Look, I want to go back to something the Democrats said, or Adam Schiff, referred to, which is that, oh, this sets a dangerous precedent, right? This idea that perhaps that U.S. aid comes with a price. U.S. assistance has always come with a price, right? Well, even if it's just, we expect you to be aligned with us, right, in the future. That's what this world is about. The concern about, if we go to the minerals deal, the concern about the minerals deal that I have, it hasn't gotten much discussion, is that the critical minerals, right, and that's what's really important here. Rare earth minerals, people hear rare and they think, oh my goodness, well, they're not really rare. They're just difficult to get out of the ground. Critical minerals, lithium, uranium, titanium, cesium. The problem here is that much of those resources is in the eastern portion of Ukraine, controlled by the Russians. So the majority of the key resources that we're talking about currently are held by the Russians. So we're making this minerals deal, and that's good. I think it's actually an important idea, and it's advancing the ball somewhat towards peace, perhaps. But there's a complexity here that's not being discussed, which is, what are we going to do with all those resources that, theoretically are in Ukraine, but they have no control over them?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah. Nobody's raised that point.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Earlier on the program today, just look at this headline, which ran it. It's in the Washington Post. Trump just dealt Russia a devastating blow. A deal for Ukraine's minerals could effectively end this war. Well, that was from Mark Thiessen in the Washington Post. Big headline there. Yeah. You agree with him?
Well, I would, except for what we just mentioned, right? Which is one of the reasons why Russia is focused on the eastern side of Ukraine, right? It's not just that, it's gas. Look, they control the vast majority of Ukraine's natural gas resources now. Coal, right? That's why they're there in Donetsk and Luhansk and that whole area that has been under contention, but is now controlled by the Russians. So, look, I think it's great as far as security guarantees. If we're in there, if we have U.S. companies in there, even in the portions that, Ukraine does control and are taking care of those resources and working with them to take advantage, then yes, that is a deterrent, because the Russian military, look, Putin is still a rational actor, right? And if U.S. companies are active in Ukraine, busy, he's going to think twice before aggression, in the future. So I think it makes sense. It's just more complex than is being described, I think.
South Korea's main spy agency says North Korea is sending even more troops to fight for Russia in Ukraine. Are you concerned about the relationship between Russia and North Korea?
Yeah, absolutely. And for one top-line reason, and that is weapons technology transfer. Look, the Kim Jong-un, his regime in North Korea, they're not doing this pro bono, right? There's a reason why. They're getting everything from oil, food, and weapons technology transfer, which is accelerating the North Korean regime's nuclear and ballistic capabilities at a pace that we haven't seen. So that relationship is worrisome.
Just going to pause for a second. On the left-hand side of your screen, now full screen, President Trump. He's awaiting the arrival of the limousine of Zelensky. There we go. It's going to start. Is it going to? They're going to. Mike, they're going to sign this deal. This is going to happen. The Trump show begins, by the way.
No, every morning.
Yes,
every morning. It's the Trump movie. I know. Look, this is a massively important encounter. From Zelensky's point of view, he felt out of the room during those initial discussions in Riyadh and certainly in Istanbul. They just had the second round of discussions between Moscow and Washington. So this is an important step for Zelensky.
Hold on a second. Are there any questions being shouted there? No. Okay. Well, there may have been questions, but they closed that off. They're walking inside. There'll now be a meeting in the Oval Office with Zelensky and President Trump. I don't know what they'll talk about at that meeting, but they'll be meeting, and that's what's going on right now. Mike Baker, thanks for joining us this morning. An important day. We appreciate it.
Thank you.